Hello, welcome to the Rooms with Ronald podcast, brought to you by the Multifamily Media Network. I'm your host, Ronald Harrington. In 2023, I set an intention to shop 100 apartment communities to see how leasing was evolving around the country. Rooms with Ronald was born out of that experience. In this series, I share my experiences and engage in meaningful conversations with other professionals in the industry as we discuss all things related to leasing and marketing. Join in as we expand the Rooms with Ronald experiment. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Rooms with Ronald. I'm your host, Ronald Harrington. Can you believe we're already at the end of May? Where has time gone? I felt like January was 100 days long, and then February, March, April, now May has just flown by. It's racing season in Indiana still, so we kind of had a whole rev up theme this year for the May on Rooms with Ronald, and I'm so excited to dive in. Now, with it being the end of May, that means I've completed more shops. And so I want to recap my shops from April because there was some good, there was some bad, and there was just some mediocre. And as I'm touring this year, I'm focusing on a couple little different things and kind of what that means. And so I guess I'm just going to ask y'all a question, and you can, email me, you can go onto LinkedIn, you can put it in the comments or things like that. Maybe I just have a too high of an expectation for what leasing should be, because I am now 22 shops into this year, and I am yet to be blown away in a good way. I've been blown away in some not good ways. So that led me to think, are my expectations too high on what should happen to leasing? Because we have a lot of mediocre experiences, right? A lot of forgettable experiences as well. And maybe that's today's leasing world, right? Which I don't agree with, because I think we have so many opportunities to really set ourselves apart and deliver hospitality into multifamily. And the customer service just isn't there. The experience just isn't there. We are still treating people like numbers. We're still just run of the mill. We're forgettable. I was telling someone the other day that I have had better experiences at Starbucks, where I'm spending $5 to $10. I had better experiences at the dentist, the doctor's office. Sometimes I've had better experiences at the D&B, which is so sad because we're not spending $1,500, $1,600 a month with them, right? They're not providing us a home, but they are still providing this experience that, in my eyes, is leaps and bounds ahead of multifamily. So let's just dive in to the shops from April. We always like to start with some of the digital shops that I do. So now, instead of just going online and booking appointments like I've done in the past, I'm actually submitting a guest card, and I'm waiting to see the responses that come through. I'm using things like I'm tracking what was the subject lines? Was it a text? Was it an email? Did I get a phone call? Where I I'm looking, was it AI? Was it a human? What's the turnaround time? What software they're using? Because I'm at the point now where I kind of feel like everyone's using a chatbot and it's all saying the same thing, right? And that's a frustrating experience because they all start to go together. So one of the properties I shopped, I was looking, I put in a guest card, and it took me a while to find it. They did not have a chatbot on their website whatsoever, which was kind of refreshing. Nothing popped up. But to get any of the information was kind of frustrating, right? So I finally put in a guest card. I sent it off, and I got some responses back. They weren't that great. But because there was no chatbot, there was no really AI on this website, I couldn't do things that I find convenient, right? So if I wanted to book a tour, couldn't do it on the website. They had some virtual tours on the website for this property, which was fine, but it took me a while to get to there. There was a lot of clicks for me to even put in the guest card, the contact us form, right? So that needed to be streamlined. Then the response came, and it came from a human. It was okay. It was mediocre. It was a welcome and response. It kind of said, "Oh, here's who we are. Um, here are the videos of the floor plans." And then it went on to, insert the videos, and you can apply online. It gave me all the details to apply online, and that was it, which I found very odd because I hadn't even mentioned I was ready to apply. I was just looking for some more information. They never asked me for the appointment in this email. They never, invited me in. And actually, the email to me said, "We do not want you to come to please don't come to our office. Here's the videos. Go ahead and just, apply online. Don't make us do any work." And I was like, guess what, though? They were offering a special. And the other thing on top of it was, in the week, in a week time frame, they only reached out once, not again. So again, that message that they sent to me as a prospect was, "We don't want your business. We don't want you to come tour. If you're not willing to just view the video and apply online, we don't want you here." Okay, so that was the first experience, right? Then I put in a couple more, and I went to one website, and it was a nice property. And I going through the thing, and the chat bot pops up, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. Let me just put in the guest card." I got the automated response back from them. It was an automation, but it was so cool, guys, because in there it added some value, and it actually made me want to go back to the website and book the appointment, because it said, "Thanks so much for your interest. Here's our community video." I got the video in the email so I could kind of see what this apartment was like. So I was able to then, kind of like, ooh, this is what the lifestyle is. So I thought, oh, how cool. I had not seen one of those yet, right? And so I was like, this is so cool, because it kind of made me excited. It did what I said, right? It automated the process, kind of humanized it, but it added value to my journey, right? So I was like, ooh, now I need to go book into the appointment. So I went back to the website, and I was like, ooh, what else is going on, right? So I get to the homepage, the bot pops up, and that's fine. And kind of they use a software, and they have some specials in it, and it's telling me, what are you looking for? And I go through the whole process, and then I start to click around, so I get 4 clicks in, and I finally click on the tab that says virtual tours. I'm like, okay, let me see what this is like. So I click on virtual tours, and I'm expecting, based off the initial email, right, that they have their video tours, right? Because the software that they use, this company happens to use RealLink, which I'm personally a huge fan of. I think video is the future, but that's a whole nother podcast. So I go in there, and I'm like, let me just watch. The video is like 3 minutes. So I watch the video. And it's not really a virtual tour in the sense of, I think, a virtual tour. It's actually a lifestyle video. There are people in the lifestyle. There are people in the video like waking up in the morning, going through their day, using their amenities, kind of showcasing their apartment. They have a cute little dog, all of those things, right? And that's the only video that they have on the website under virtual tours. Why would you not bring that from that tab that I had to click into and move it to the home page, where it just automatically started to play when I landed into that homepage? That would be that would stand me apart, because I've not seen any other homepage do that. I've seen like drone videos and AI videos and photo videos, all of those things, but like to actually have real people in there, like in their everyday life, using the amenities, using their home. I'm now getting a sense of what it means to live at this website, at this property based off their website, which was so cool to me. So I do that, right? And I'm like clicking around. And then I noticed that they have some unique icons on this website that I had not seen before. So kudos to this management company because like, ooh, that made me stand out. They had one section was called the Pets Corner, right? Which told me they were very pet friendly. So that's kind of like is what stood out to me from the get-go. I was in love, right? I was like, I had to go see this. So I'm like, okay, I put in, to book the appointment. I get the appointment like booked in my eyes, and I get this pop-up that says, your appointment request has been sent off to the property. Your appointment is not confirmed until you hear from a leasing agent. Okay, so I was like, wow. So that means I couldn't book an appointment for the day in the day. So if I was a prospect and I was like, you know what, I need to look. I've been putting it off. It's 9 a.m. Let me go see if I can book online for a 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock appointment. And if I did, I would get this message. And if they don't reach out, what happens, right? So that tells me I have to plan a little bit. And sometimes that's not prospect strong points. So I was like, okay, I get an email confirmation that says the same thing, but this time now there's another video in it, right? That I can like to help you prepare for your tour. Here's a video. So I watched the video and it kind of like shows me where to park, shows me some of the same amenities again, but it's consistent. And I love consistency. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I'll wait to hear back from the leasing agent. So then I jump to another website, again, kind of the same pop-up, pop-up. They all start to go together. But that one website really stood out to me. So I'm now ready, I head to my destination and I'm like, oh, let me go look and see. So my appointment is booked for 10:30. Remember, I booked it the day before. So at 9 a.m., I have still yet to hear back from the property. And then 10 o'clock comes, and then 10:15 comes, and the leasing agent, which their message says, your appointment is not confirmed until you hear from the leasing team. So I was like, oh, do they have a centralized office? What's going to happen? So me being me, I just show up. I show up and I'm like, cool, they're here. Never got the confirmation. So the leasing agent buzzed me in and she was like, hi, how can I help you? I tell her I have an appointment. She asked me if I'm Ronald. I'm like, yes, I'm Ronald. So she has my guest card. She has all my information there. She printed it out. Super cool, right? Why didn't you just email me or text me to confirm the appointment? Because again, if I was a prospect, I may not have shown up. I might have been like, well, I didn't get the appointment confirmed, so I'm not going to show up. I was already in the area, so I was showing up either way, right? So why would you not do that extra step? And if that's not your best practice, maybe you need to communicate that to your marketing team, to whoever is handling that, so they can reword the message, right? And so I would be curious to know, like, does this property have a low show rate because they did not confirm the appointment? So, we're talking, and she has a sign on the desk, and it says she has laryngitis. Poor leasing professional had laryngitis. I felt so bad, like coming to tour because she could barely talk. I've been there. But you know what? She handled it with grace. She played into that very well. She, told me 5 times she wasn't contagious. She went through the process, like, how, this will happen. I was able to give her some recommendations of what I've done in the past when I've had that. So she played into it to her advantage. Whereas I know a lot of people would have called in, refused the tour, told me to go on a self-guided tour, right? So she really played into that. And so, she had everything ready. She then ushered me away from the desk. And I knew that they did not do business at this desk because there was no chairs at the desk. And it was a tall desk, right? So it came up to my torso when I was standing there. So she was like, she did ask me 1 or 2 questions there, like what size floor plan and when I wanted to move in. And then she was like, okay, so let's come over here to these comfortable seats. And so there's like a big table, and we kind of do the Cupid shuffle, like the dance a little bit, right? Like, where do I sit? And I was like, oh, well, I'm going to sit here next to you, kind of, so that way you don't have to yell. Because again, she has laryngitis. I feel bad. So we go through the process, and she's telling me, oh, here's the floor plan. And she asked me a question that I had not been asked before that I really appreciated. And she said, so Ronald, tell me, what's your story? Who are you as an individual? Like, what's your story? Tell me what you think I need to know about you. I was floored away. She was building a connection without really building a connection. She wanted to know who I was as a person. So I told her like kind of what brought me to the area. I told her, what I did for work. I just kind of was like an onion that peeled back, because now she wanted to know me. And we were like talking, and so what's your story? She asked me, okay, so based off of who you are, like what's important in your new home? What are you going to want? So we go through the process, and I'm telling her what it is that I want. Right. And I'm like, I need lots of closet space. And she's taking notes, and, we talk about my dog and what's important to him, and how she likes to call herself the dog whisperer. All the dogs love her. And we went through this process, and it felt like I was talking to one of my good friends. She shows me around the community. Pretty standard tour, right? But, she did a great job of explaining it. We go into the gym. We see the gym, and I'm like, oh, and it's overlooking this thing. And I tied it back to like a cruise. And she was like, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to go on an Alaskan cruise. Like, what was your best part? And she was like, I really hope you move in here, because you seem like fun. You seem like you would enjoy living here. And we're going around, and she was like, telling me, she was like, you know what, we do lots of resident events. Our maintenance staff is amazing. They've been here for like 5 years. This property is only 7 years old, and they come in, and this is what they're doing. You will never have an issue if they, as long as you communicate with us, which was really outstanding to me to hear that. And we go in, and we're on the way back to the office, and she's like, if you want to meet people, just come tell me. Like, I know everyone in the building. I will make connections. Come to our resident events. Like, I will help introduce you to people. I don't want you, like, you're moving here by yourself. I don't want you to feel like you're by yourself. Like, I want to help you build a community. I was like, okay, girl, like, get it. Like, this was a unique experience that I really liked. It was memorable, right? And so we finish up the tour, and she, again, thanks me for coming through. And we get to the desk. We're back at the desk now. She's giving me the pamphlet, and we're kind of recapping what we talked about. And she says, but I'm not one of those pushy salespeople, so I'm not going to ask you to apply for the apartment today. I'm just going to let you know that I'm here. And should you need anything, you can email me or call me, and I'll send you a link. So have a great day. She had done so good up until that point. Like, had she probably asked me to apply for the apartment, I would have really considered it, right? But she did not. But she told me why, and I feel like she was uncomfortable with that next step, right? We built a connection. We laughed, we joked, we bonded. She just didn't want to seem pushy, which is not a sales thing, right? Like, that wouldn't be pushy. The worst, I would tell you no and why, right? And you would kind of know. But she did that. And I left there feeling like, oh, this was one of the better tours. Minus the fact that she never told me her name until I saw her business card. So that was the first tour. The second tour I went on for the day, I only did 2 this day. I got there, we kind of like came in, she knew who I was. She asked me if I was Ronald, which was cool. She never introduced herself. And then we sit down, and she was, when are you looking to move in? What size apartment do you want? I'm like, so I tell her all the information. She then pulls out the 3 different floor plans, and she's going through the availability. And as she's going through the availability, she starts to see, okay, so she writes down 2 different apartments for each floor plan. So now we're discussing 6 different apartments, and I have not seen a thing. Not seen a single thing. So I'm like, okay, so out of these 3 different floor plans, which one might interest you the most? So I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, so this looks like this. Again, she hasn't really identified my need, so she's just presenting me with 6 different apartment homes from 3 different floor plans. Wrote everything down, went through what each one was, and then asked me. So I'm like, okay, well, I think this one because of the closet space. She's like, perfect. So we kind of go along our way. Never has used my name since that first introduction. We kind of see the amenities we're going through. She's telling me, oh, we do this and we do this, and this isn't open, this isn't open. Finally, she was like, so what's making you move to this area? I tell her where I'm commuting from. We have a whole bonding moment about that. Like, oh, this is it, right? This is why. And then it goes back to business. And she does nothing else with the information. Like, she tried. I thought we were going to get there, right? But we didn't. And so we go into the apartment. We see the apartment. I'm like over here, like thinking in my head, okay, like I'm asking, like, so does a king size bed fit in here? And what their response is. What about the furniture, right? We talk about I have a sectional. What's that experience? Where is that going to go? We talk about my Starbucks mugs, where my Starbucks mugs are going to go. And so, like, she's kind of helping me, kind of like, oh, well, people have done this. That's it, right? And so it wasn't like, I was like, okay, I'm not going to get anything. I'm like, perfect. I think I can make everything fit. Might be a little tight. Might be a good time to get rid of some things. Wonderful. We head back, and she sends me on my way, right? And I'm like, okay. So then I'm waiting for the follow-up, and the follow-up comes, and she used nothing in the thing. It was just, Ronald, it was so nice to meet you today. Thank you so much for stopping by. I love this experience, blah, blah, blah. Like, didn't hide, like, we had the connection of where I was commuting from. Didn't talk about my Starbucks mugs. Didn't offer to send me a video or photos or nothing. It was a templated email that she inserted my name and what size floor plan that I wanted. And then the only thing that she did that made it personal was the one unit that I liked. She talked about it. And that was it. Nothing else to tie it back in, to show that she was listening. And it felt very rushed. And it came to a weird, like, okay, well, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm like, okay. So I was kind of frustrated at that. And then I did my last 3 all in one day. And I go into the website, I put it all in. And the first property, like, I booked an appointment thinking like the calendar was going to default to April, right? Because I was in April at the time. And so I booked the appointment and it said, oh, you've booked the appointment for May 29th. I'm like, oh crap, So I go back to the website to reschedule, but I can't get to the month of April, even though I'm still in April. And I'm like, okay, so like I get the confirmation. I email back. I'm like, hey, I meant to book this for tomorrow. Is there any way we can rearrange it? We go back and forth. They agree to let me rearrange the tour. I come in. So I got it. It was just a frustrating process for me. And then get to the property at the scheduled time. And I walk in. I'm like, hi, I have a tour. And the lady was like, oh, perfect. Who were you meeting with? I'm like, oh, crap. Who was I meeting with? Because, again, I didn't have a phone call. So I'm like, oh, I look at the email. I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to meet with so-and-so. Oh, my gosh, she stepped out. So she's not here right now. But come on in. I'll help you anyways. I'm like, okay, cool. So we go in to the office. She was like, so our system's down. We're going to a new PMS system right now. And so I don't have a lot of information for you. You're looking for a 1-bedroom and this move-in date. perfect. Hopefully I can go in and see what we have to show. So there was no communication between the two people in the handoff. And so I'm like, okay, so she struggles. She can't find it. She can't do any of that. We're going to go see the model. Perfect. We go into the model. She has a 1-bedroom in mind that she thinks is going to work. And she did an excellent job. I'm going to give her credit for that. Really explaining the differences. Like, she knew the property like the back of her hand between this floor plan and the one that I was interested in. And so I was like, okay, so I was able to visualize it. As we walk out, I'm like, do you have a floor plan that I can see, just so I can kind of see the difference in there? She was like, maybe, again, like, we're switching softwares. I'll need to go check the office and see if we can find one, which was odd to me. But so I'm like, okay, she was like, if not, I know that this leasing agent will have it. She'll send it to you when she gets back, things like that. I'm like, okay. So we walk in, and I see, as soon as we walk in, there are big brochures that have the property name on it. So I'm assuming at this point that that's marketing clutter. That probably has the floor plans. I don't say anything. So she goes into the desk. She starts to look. And then, like, I think the aha moment happens where she's like, oh, so she gives it to me. She apologizes that she was unable to send me, any quotes or anything like that. And the system's down and the person wasn't there. But, she'd be more than happy to relay what happened on the tour. And if one becomes available for that floor plan, she would have that leasing agent reach out to me. Again, I don't know her name. So I'm like, okay. So I get an email the next day from the leasing agent I was supposed to tour with. She apologized for not being there. The leasing professional filled her in on what happened. She did have one available that she could show me and asked if I could swing back by. So I'm like, oh, well, okay. So I can, because I'm not in town. Again, didn't ask me to apply. I mean, they couldn't. But what was odd is the next day I got the generic automated response. Thanks for inquiring. A leasing agent will be with you shortly, blah, blah, blah. So that told me their systems was backed up. I then went to another property, and this property was a newer build. They were offering concessions and things like that. But the interaction that I had, I could not book an appointment online at all. I put my guest card in, and then 10, 15 minutes later, I get a text. And the text was kind of dry. Not like what I would expect for a lease up or someone to come in and want to do it, right? And for a second, I was like, is this a human? But then as we kind of went on, I realized real quick that it was the AI talking to me. That's why it's kind of dry. But yet we didn't really we booked the appointment. The AI said great. And then they gave me the qualifications and asked if I was okay with the qualifications. And then the next day confirmed the appointment. So I show up, and I was like, there's like a send or sorry, we missed you. Here's a QR code, blah, 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 to schedule. And I just walk in. The leasing agent comes out. She has an AirPod in her ear the whole time we're on tour. She gives me the sheet. She's going through the process. But what they did right was they had a look and lease special that offered concessions on like a buffet menu, almost like a choose my own adventure. So I didn't have to take the standard $200 off the app and admin fee. I could get AirPod Pro Max. I could get a TV. I could get a Visa gift card. I could get detached parking. Like, there was so many, there was 6 different things that I could choose from that really, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. That I had not seen before. And I have been saying that that's what we need to do for a long time, because think about it, if I got the AirPods Pro Max, every time I put them in, I would think about that property. If I got the new TV, every time I watched the TV, I would think about that property. So it kind of allowed me to choose my own adventure. She didn't have a lot of energy. And so she was like, well, did you look at our website? What floor plans caught your eye? Here's the 2 that we had. Not the approach that I would take, because sometimes the websites all start to go together. And this property's name was very similar to another property's name, like literally like one letter difference. And so I was like running through my head. And so luckily she told me I just picked one out of the dark. We went to see it. And I asked if a king size bed would fit in there. She's like, oh, yeah, I mean, it would be tight. You couldn't have end tables, things like that. But here's the other floor plan. It's four square feet different. And we did this whole process right now. So we went to see it as well. I felt the first one was more for me. It was bigger. It felt, even though it wasn't square footage, but the bedroom just felt a little bit bigger. And we talked about that. She made too big of a deal for me because their compactor was taken away and there was trash on the side. So I'm assuming like someone took it and just moved in and put the stuff there, right? But she was like freaking out. She's like, oh my gosh, what happened? Where's this at? Let me take a photo. Let me notify people, all these other things. And I was just like, girl, we could have just pretended that we didn't see it. Or you could have said, oh, I can't believe someone took and put trash there when they saw the compactor was being recycled. We went on, and at the end of the tour, she was just like, well, if you don't have any more questions, you're free to go. And then she walked into the office, and I went to my car. Never introduced herself. The thing that stood out to me about this tour, though, it's a new lease up, and their coffee machine was already broken. And an out of order sign, and she's like, it doesn't happen very often. Like, I don't know that I would have taken me that way. It was like just behind the office. We could have looped around and then back, and I would have never seen it. But like, I'm like, it's a new lease up and it's already down. Didn't ask me to apply for the apartment. And then finally, the last tour I go to, I'm looking, I walk in and the doors swing open for me. Their maintenance people are standing there and they welcome me in. I was like, well, this is a warm welcome. The 3 office staff are behind the desk and like, hi, how can I help you? I'm like, oh, I have a tour. So the lady's like, perfect, come on in. Let's go into the office and we can, chit chat. And she was like, all I know is your name and that you had an appointment today. Our system is messed up. It's not acting right. So I don't know any other information for me. So let's just start from the beginning. So we go through the process. And there's like someone else just standing in the office that hasn't been introduced yet. And I'm like, okay, this is weird, but cool. So we go through the process. I tell her what I'm looking for. She's like, well, I don't have a 1-bedroom to show you. So let's watch your video. So we watch the video. She walks me through. She goes, but we'll go at the end of this. We'll go see a 2-bedroom and you can see the finishes. They're all going to be the same. It's all going to be about the same counter height and all of that. And I'm like, perfect. So we go through that whole process. She was like, I just need your ID. So she takes over my ID. She looks at it. She's like, perfect. She hands it back to me and we start on the tour and we get out of her office and into the like leasing office. And she's like, oh, this is so-and-so. It's her first day. She's going to shadow me on the tour. I'm like, oh, perfect. And I make a joke about it. And we go on the tour and she does really well of explaining things, but it felt very rushed. We go see the 2-bedroom. I ask a couple questions. We get back and I'm like, so, what is this? One property I saw had a $50 activation fee. Like, do you have that? What was it? She was like, no. She pulled up one of the bills because we were talking about the activation fee at that property was to set up water and sewer. I want to know if they had one. She didn't. So she pulled it up. She says there is like a $25 one. We went through the whole process. And then she was like, if a 1-bedroom comes available, I'll send you a note to let you know. And then maybe on your way home or something that you can just swing by and see it. But I will also send you this all in a recap. And she did. And along my way, I went. So 5 shops, 1 person out of 5 this time got to know me and as an individual, what made me take what I was looking for. 0 people asked me to apply for the apartment. So 22 shops in for the year, I've had 0 people ask me to directly commit to completing the application. And a lot of memorable experiences that were just mediocre. A lot of these experiences weren't memorable. They weren't anything, right? Like they all start to run together. No one really stood out except for the girl with laryngitis. And that's because she had laryngitis and she asked me my story. And they did those video follow-ups. So I did get that follow up. And I got a text from her the other day just to check in with me. And I hate when people say, hey, Ronald, just checking in, or hey, Ronald, just following up. Like, those are words like I don't want to know. Like, that's a sales process to me. Like, do something to add value. And I know that that company, and actually a couple of them, use the RealLink platform, and I know what it can do. Make a video follow-up. Send it to me. Make it personal. Make the experience memorable. There you have it, my recap of my 5 shops that I had that I felt were just kind of mediocre at best for the most part. If you think that I have too high of expectations when it comes to creating experiences in the leasing, feel free. Reach out. Let me know. Let's talk about it, because I want to know if I am. That will help me shift my focus. If you are listening and you need some leasing assistance, or you're thinking, I need Ronald to come in and teach my teams, or, I want to see if he shopped one of my properties or what that experience is, can he? Reach out. I am here to help. Rooms with Ronald is here to help you. We've launched a whole consulting business called RWR Consulting. We're going to make your leasing teams shine. You can email me at roomswithronald@gmail.com. You can go to www.roomswithronald.com. Fill out a contact. I would be more than happy to assist. If you want to come on the podcast and talk leasing with me, happy to do that as well. You have been listening to Rooms with Ronald, the April 2025 recap edition. Today's episode was brought to you by the Multifamily Media Network. And until next time, guys, happy leasing. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope I left you with some fresh ideas or a new perspective. Leasing and marketing are evolving rapidly, and Rooms with Ronald is committed to offering a place to hear about those changes. We also celebrate and acknowledge the fundamentals of exceptional service that will never go out of style. So, if you enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, or subscribe. Visit multifamilymedianetwork.com to learn more about our other exceptional industry podcasts, thought pieces, and sponsorship opportunities.